Double Rebirth+Bi-directional Journey+Vengeance, House Battle, Palace Battle Plus, Fang Zhiluo and Xiao Wang are both reborn in her previous life. Despite her father's opposition, she stubbornly married Qi Heng and dragged the Fang family into the struggle of the court, resulting in the complete execution of the Fang family. Heaven has given her a chance to be reborn, and she must not repeat the same mistakes in this life. She refused Qi Heng, wooed Liu Yuan, saved Prince Jing, and helped Xia Ningxin marry the person she wanted. Counting the time, Xiao Wang was ambushed by someone during this year's battle, and he fell into a slump. Remembering the kindness of the opponent's family in the previous life, Xiao Wang insisted on rescuing him no matter what. But this time it went against my wishes, and Xiao Wang was still seriously injured and disabled. My older sister refused to marry the disabled Prince Xiao, so she drugged and changed her marriage. Her wedding sedan was exchanged and sent to the Prince Xiao's mansion, but she never thought it would suit her. It wasn't until she married into the Xiao Wang Mansion that she realized she wasn't fighting alone. Xiao Wang, like her, was reborn and returned. Chapter 1. Rebirth. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The candlelight inside the rough tent was dim, and the sound of horses hissing made people panic. There are 4 guards standing guard at the entrance of the tent. Those who know that there is a young lady living in this camp, while those who don't think they are watching the prisoners. The female attendant in the tent lightly tapped the medicinal powder on Fang Zhiluo's forehead. The medicine had to be changed once a day, and the soup prescribed by the doctor was also taken regularly. However, the young lady showed no signs of waking up. Xia Zhu sighed lightly and said, "Miss, why is she so foolish? She bumped herself into this for the sake of a man." She had a worried expression on her face, feeling sorry for her young lady who, for the sake of an unworthy person, didn't even listen to the words of her master and wife. Why torture herself so much? At this moment, the woman on the bed moved her fingertips and slowly opened her eyes. "Ah, miss, you're awake," Xia Zhu quickly grabbed her hand, overjoyed. Xia Zhu. Fang Zhiluo saw the person in front of her with round and delicate cheeks, feeling a little puzzled. Then she smiled lightly, "It seems like I'm really dead. Finally, I see Xia Zhu again, still as cute as when I was a child." She murmured in her mouth, then narrowed her eyes again, wanting to see more clearly. "What?" Xia Zhu leaned down and whispered, "Miss, do you want to drink water? Are you hungry?" The warm breath mixed with the fragrance of gardenia on her body rushed towards her, and the real touch made her suddenly pull back her hand and look at Xia Zhu in shock. Xia Zhu was also frightened by her frightened expression and immediately lifted her body. "Miss, what's wrong with you? Are you feeling unwell somewhere?" She looked around and saw a simple wooden bed underneath her, with several tassel sachets hanging from the curtain. After hanging it for an unknown amount of time, it looked gray. There are bamboo slips and an iron sword on the desk, and the smoke from the incense burner is rising. The fragrance of sandalwood is refreshing to the heart. She looked at her hands, slender as green onions, shiny as jade, not as withered as in memory. Taking a deep breath, he asked incredulously, "Am I in a military camp?" "Yes." Xia Zhu draped his cloak over her and reached out to probe her forehead. "Miss, is your head still hurting? Why are you a bit confused?" "Head." She raised her hand and touched her forehead, feeling a piercing pain. "Hiss, how did I get hurt?" "Miss wants to be betrothed to the Qi family young master, but the master doesn't allow it. Miss bumped into a pillar on her own and forced her to sleep for 3 whole days. She was worried about the death." Xia Zhu's tears pattered as she spoke. Fang Zhiluo felt soreness all over her body in a tired face, feeling as if she had had a long dream. She vaguely remembered when she was 14 years old, pestering her father to marry Qi Heng. Later, it seemed like she had hit a pillar and slept for several days. She was somewhat shocked at the thought of this and said, "Xia Zhu, what year is it tonight?" Xia Zhu looked puzzled and said, Heaven is approaching 60 years. 5 years ago. She seemed to suddenly think of something and got up to walk towards the bronze mirror. Hey, miss. Xia Zhu quickly stepped forward to protect her, afraid that she would stumble and fall to the ground. The woman in the bronze mirror has slender willow eyebrows, and the pear vortex on both sides of her mouth is faintly visible. Although I haven't eaten for a few days, my cheeks are still round and round, completely different from my previously emaciated self. She fixed her gaze on herself in the mirror, her fingertips brushing against her cheeks. The warm and delicate touch made her certain that it was not an illusion. I'm back, I'm back. I'm back. Looking at her own young lady crying and laughing, her back felt a little numb. Miss, stop crying. The ground is cold here, why don't you go to bed first? Xia Zhu helped her to the bed and carefully looked around the tent. There was no one else except for the two of them, murmuring in a low voice, who has come back. In her previous life, she married Regent Qi Heng, but did not expect to be imprisoned in the deep palace until her tragic death, and Xia Zhu was also thrown into the deep well. Her wish before death has truly come true. Now that she is 14 years old and unmarried, her parents and grandmother are still alive, and Xia Zhu is still a child, everything is still in time. Looking at Xia Zhu feeling a bit flustered, Fang Zhiluo waved and asked her to sit by the bed. Don't be afraid, I'm fine, it's just a nightmare that has been going on for a long time and I didn't react for a moment. Xia Zhu's cheeks were flushed, fair and tender, and she couldn't help but pinch them. Ah, miss, please be gentle, the tears from the corners of your eyes had not yet been wiped away, and a pair of peach blossom eyes were watery, bright and clear, extremely cute. It was a blessing from heaven that brought her back to life. She held on to Xia Zhu, tears slowly flowing down her face with the smile on her lips. Before Fang Zhiluo could fully recover from the joy of rebirth, the curtain was lifted by someone. The newcomer was 8 feet tall, majestic and solemn, wearing armor like a pine and cypress standing in the cold winter, shining brightly. Upon seeing this, Xia Zhu quickly stood up and saluted, Master, Miss has just woken up and hasn't had a chance to report yet. I haven't seen my father since I got married in my previous life. Now, my father looks young and doesn't have much white hair on his temples. He has been leading troops for a long time, and his face has some wrinkles on it. However, he still can't resist the abundant and handsome expression between his eyebrows. Oh, my daughter really follows her father. When I was a child, I didn't think so. Now it looks really similar, it's just a mold carved out. She thought to herself and couldn't help but walk up to Fang Zhong with tears in her eyes. As soon as she raised her hand and wanted to hug her, a scolding frightened her and she immediately took 2 steps back. Kneel down, Fang Zhong's eyes were solemn, his face tense, and he said angrily, Why are you looking at me like this? See if I'm really angry with you. She couldn't help but feel a chill in her spine. Before tears could flow down, she forcefully held back, pressed her lips, and knelt down helplessly. Why are you so disrespectful? You have to live and die for a man. If it were your sister, it would be fine. You grew up in my military camp since childhood, and you haven't seen any kind of good man before. It's just that you're attracted to someone who is too greedy and selfish. Fang Zhong's face and neck turned red, indicating that he had been trying his best to suppress his anger. He did not ask his daughter to marry into a wealthy family, but his character should not be inferior. Who would have thought that his daughter would crash into the pillar for such a person, so scared that he almost drove west on the spot. Fang Zhiluo knelt on the ground, pursed her lips, and looked out of the camp with pursed eyes. She exclaimed indignantly, Yes, he's not really a good person. What are you saying? Fang Zhong couldn't believe his ears. She raised her eyes to the loyal gaze above, with a firm expression on her face. Qi Heng is not a good person. He speaks eloquently and has good looks, so he cannot marry at all. The air instantly froze, and he was a bit skeptical. Was it a brain injury or something he was holding back? For the sake of Qi Heng's frequent troubles, has he suddenly figured it out now? Looking at her father's blushing face, she timidly moved forward and tugged at his pants. Dad, don't be angry. My daughter is wrong. From now on, if you don't let anyone marry me, I will definitely be 3 zhang away from him without even looking at him. Chapter 2. Hui Fu. You are listening at novel full.audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 3. Mrs. Fang from the Fang family. You are listening at novel full.audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 4. Going on the street. You are listening at novel full.audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 5. Previous lives. You are listening at novel full.audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 6. Lessons learned. You are listening at novel full.audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 7. Liu Yuan. You are listening at novel full.audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 8. Qi Heng. You are listening at novel full.audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 9. Search. You are listening at novel full.audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 10. Excuses. You are listening at novel full.audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text.